This meeting of the Beverly Hills Board of Education is called to order. Mr. Tse, would you lead us in the pledge to the flag, please? Are you here?
Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have an approval of the agenda?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to approve the agenda minus item 10E as per staff request.
I'll second.
Oh, sorry, second by Mrs. Hacker. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And Superintendent Brady, a report of closed session action.
The board has approved a settlement agreement for student 1002935-520, and so that passes unanimously.
Thank you. This is the agenda hearing period for public comment. And Mr. Tsay, since you're on a roll, let's continue. Let's start with you. Yes, you have, Mr. Tsay, extra time. Two others have granted you their time.
Great, thank you. Dear Board of Education members, district administrators, members of the community, congratulations to my colleagues who were recognized as Apple Award winners tonight. All of you are amazing and deserving of this honor. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Telly C., high school teacher and president of the Beverly Hills Education Association. I want to start by thanking Superintendent Michael Breggy. Since the last board meeting, you met with BHUSD representatives along with Dr. Tedford and Mrs. Latham, and we had a great meeting that led to a better understanding between both sides. I want to especially thank Mrs. Latham for your presence at the bargaining table, as it is always helpful and necessary. Thank you to Board President Mel Spitz for reaching out to us to meet. We're still waiting to hear back regarding a date and time, and I'm hopeful that will be finalized soon. Finally, I want to acknowledge the district's efforts in developing and administering a supplemental early retirement plan pending board approval. This, in addition to the tabling of the elementary math textbook adoption, is a movement in the right direction, and we recognize it. Another move in the right direction would be for all of us here to publicly put an end to the debate of whether the salary formula is good for the district. It is absolutely a great thing for all of us. 3 of the board members who worked with us on this and voted for it are still here today. In the last 33 years, we have seen a 5% decrease in property tax revenue overall versus a 202% increase. We project an increase in the next 4 years. We can disagree about how we want to use the influx of property tax revenue the district receives every year, but to blame the formula for any financial problem is not a smart or balanced way to look at it. Secondly, regarding the Director of Communications position, we have the idea of the district being better at communicating with the public. I mean, maybe one of the things that this person could do is publicly state that the salary formula is not the problem. The issue we have is quite simple. This is not the time, not when we have layoffs. If I have a friend tell me he has money problems and can't pay the mortgage, and then he goes out and hires a butler, it's just not the best look. Lastly, the layoffs. The layoff notices have to be rescinded. You've hired amazing teachers, some in the last 10 months, 22 of them within the last 3 years. They could have worked anywhere else, but they chose us. But it's like they came on board, and now they're being reaccommodated and forcefully dragged out of the jobs they love. And let's not blame seniority on this, because seniority rules didn't cause the district to hire 60 people in the last 3 years. We can do better than this. Certainly, in addition to the early retirement plan, all options must be explored. Take 2012, for example. In November 2012, shortly after Proposition 30 was passed, the district announced to the staff that they needed to present a reduction plan to the LA County of Education that equaled $3.5 million. In this 2012 plan, which I have in front of me, the options to reduce the spending by $3.5 million included reductions to all units. Reductions to certificated staff was less than $1 million out of the 3.5. Included in the proposed cuts were reductions to administrators, both in the number of positions and in their salaries. Now, we are not proposing that you turn your attention to cutting programs or other units or even administrative salaries. We are simply stating again that there are many different options, and it is important that we are all involved in the process of looking at all of the options. We had a great professional development day yesterday, and I want to thank Dr. Tedford for putting all of that together. I spent most of the day in the classroom with a few of our affected teachers, and if they had just gone through the motions, it would have been perfectly understandable. But they worked hard, they collaborated, they maintained a positive attitude and conducted themselves as if they expected to be back next year. These 23 educators deserve to keep their jobs. The real question is, what have we done to deserve their excellence and professionalism? Rescinding these layoff notices now and not later would be the way to start. After all, they could be our next Apple Award winners. Thank you.
Marla Weiss, please. Ms. Weiss, David Siskin has ceded his time to you.
Yeah, a little more prepared than last time, but it won't be as long. Thank you, though. Good evening, Board of Education, and I also want to congratulate our Apple Award winners. It's exciting and nice and wonderful. My name's Marla Weiss. I'm a math and biology teacher at Beverly Hills High School, as well as a parent of a kindergartner at Horace Mann. Last month, I spoke to all of you about class size and the correlation between small class size and student learning. Tonight, I want to talk a little bit about choices. The first choice I want to talk about is the proposed reduction of the intervention program. This was a program that the Board of Education chose to implement for this 2016-2017 school year, and now is choosing to reduce or eliminate. There has not been any effort to assess the impact of this program. The emphasis over the past 5 to 10 years at the high school has been in analytics. We work on analyzing our teaching, analyzing our assessments, and then we use that data to drive our instruction. And yet, here is a new program with very strong anecdotal evidence to support maintaining the program, and it's being eliminated before any data analysis has been done. So here is some evidence. Based upon the recent STAR testing of the intervention students only at Horace Mann, in mathematics alone, as a math teacher I was curious, 18 have exited or graduated since the start of the program this year. 87% of these intervention students have shown an increase in their test scores, and the intervention students have increased their scores by an average of 58 points. Yes, the program is young, but it is working. The long-term value cannot be determined, but I'm confident that you can only imagine the impact it will have on the success of those students as they progress through our school system. The second choice I want to address is the decision-making regarding fiscal responsibility and spending. Number one, your plan is to still hire a new administrative position, a communications director. At this time of having noticed 23 teachers that they have lost their jobs, which will have a direct impact on the students in the district, I again ask, how can you, in good conscience, hire another district administrator? I'll piggyback onto another analogy. It's as if I were to purchase for myself a second cell phone while having difficulty putting food on the table for my family. It seems silly, but to me, that's what it is. The district is still paying an attorney to sit at the bargaining table. When in interest-based bargaining, this is not a need nor a part of the philosophy of the process. And finally, number three. 3 years ago, the Board of Education chose to increase a certificated position at the high school that in the certificated contract states is a 2/5 position. And for at least the past 25 years, it's been a 2/5 position. It is currently being filled for the second year in a row for a 5/5 position. Not only is this a contract violation, but the program that's being overseen by this position is smaller than it's been in the last 25 years. It should be a 2/5 position per the contract. These choices are being made along with the choice to still not make any suggestions of cutting spending away from the classroom. So I urge you, please keep students as the priority of this district, keep classes small, keep this valuable intervention program, and make responsible fiscal financial decisions that impact our students as little as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon DeMaio? You have Sharon Shagoff has ceded her time to you.
Thank you. Dear members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Bragi, my name is Sharon DeMaio, and I'm a parent of 2 El Rodeo students. Once again today, I would like to share with you my strong disappointment with the decision to pink slip a number of amazing teachers in our district. I believe that as parents, we have a duty to speak up and advocate for what is best for our children. I can safely state that many, if not all, of the teachers you have pink slipped are amazing educators. The kind of teachers that make a difference in the life of a student. The kind of teachers that go above and beyond to support students who require extra attention, all the while pushing their higher performing students toward the next challenge. We need to think of these teachers as our wealth. How can we deplete ourselves of this wealth? Teachers who have received pink slips are now obviously looking for jobs. Other districts, other schools will be welcoming them with open arms. Our children, our schools will be the ones suffering the consequences. The loss of valuable teachers will affect the quality of the education. Think test scores, think college placements, think ability to attract strong and qualified teachers in the future. Controversy and discontent will also deeply affect the reputation of the school district. Think enrollment, property value, rent, business, and so forth. Board members definitely have the responsibility of a budget, but also the responsibility to answer to the community that elected them. It is undeniably a challenge to strike a balance between making the school district financially sound while maintaining the good quality of our schools. However, this is what each and every one of you pledged as a candidate during the elections. And I assume respectfully, Dr. Bragi, that this is what you committed to when you accepted this position. However, we are not on opposite sides of this issue. The financial state and the success of our school district are goals we share. We are at a crossroad, though. We can either decide to let a time of crisis divide us, or we can decide to embrace the struggle and support each other in the way we accomplish our common goals. I'm not alone in believing that budget cuts should happen first away from the classrooms. So before going through with a drastic decision that may only be temporary fixes, I am asking you to suspend the termination of the 23 teachers and that we try to work together and find a way to overcome difficulties in a collective and collaborative way. Cutting out well-prepared, high-performing, committed teachers cannot be the starting point of your budget cuts. Working together and taking a more responsible, inclusive look at how the district spends its funds seem a better long-term solution. Through this crisis, it is clear that the board as a whole is struggling to gain the trust of parents, students, and teachers. There's a perceived lack of accountability and transparency in the district. This perception would be changed by changing how things are done, by opening the lines of communication. It is my opinion that things may change if instead of handing down a decision, you took the time to sit with the many stakeholders affected by your decisions. Communication and transparency. Why not open the books and allow for a study of the budget that includes board members, city council members, BHEV representatives, union representatives, administrators, students, parent representatives. Again, I ask you to cancel the 23 proposed termination, ensuring the district will not lose some of the most valuable and high-performing teachers in our school. Let us work together to achieve what is best for this school district, this community, and its students. Thank you.
Susie Romano.
She's not here yet.
Not here?
Can speak either later or at 7.
Angelia Chiricino. Did I say it right?
No, that's okay. I was correcting the second.
Thank you for the letter that you appeared last week in the Courier. It was a very thoughtful letter.
I'm sure you all are getting sick of me. That's okay. So it's Angelia Chiriquino. It's a tough name. I'm sorry for that. So for weeks, parents have been sending you emails and making phone calls and standing here at this podium stating our opinion on the teacher pink slip issue. We've been offering suggestions and asking, practically begging, for increased communication on the topic. We've asked for collaborative dialogue about how we can fix this problem, and we very simply ask you for updates. Yet we haven't received anything. No updates and a continued disregard for the students, parents, and teachers affected by this issue. And no, I'm sorry, with all due disrespect, or with all due respect, I'm sorry, Dr. Breggy, I don't believe a communications director would fix this. This isn't LAUSD, there aren't hundreds of thousands of us, this is BHUSD. We're very small, and it's not unreasonable for the people who elected these board members to hear from them. So since you have no update for us, we'll give you one from our side. 23 teachers remain uncertain about their futures, so 23 teachers are now looking for jobs. I know one teacher who has 3 interviews next week, interviews at incredible schools, because it should come as no surprise to you that our other area public schools and private schools are extremely eager to get their hands on 23 of Beverly Hills' best teachers, all because we're making the tragic mistake of letting them go. May 15th is quickly approaching. We're already very angry. Now you're making us very nervous. We're one of the richest communities in the world, yet somehow we can't manage a budget. We've made it very clear that we don't want our teachers cut. We also know that there are alternatives to solve this. You need to approve the retirement packages, postpone the elementary math textbook adoption, postpone the administrative hires. You have options, now it's time to implement them. You were elected by this community, and I think it's pretty clear what the community wants. I've yet to hear one person get up here and speak to the contrary. So again, we ask you, do what's right for our kids and do what's right for our schools, and please rescind the pink slips now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susie Romano is here.
Susie Romano.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Susie Romano, a parent of a second grader at El Rodeo and an incoming kindergartner in the fall. I'm also a graduate of El Rodeo and Beverly Hills High School. I'm here to express my extreme concern about the board's lack of action since the meeting 2 months ago, when all of the parents came together to express how disconcerting it was to have you issue 23 pink slips. I simply ask one thing. Like good parenting, where you model the behavior that you want your children to have, I ask that the school board model creative problem solving, just as we would ask our students to do. When you have a child who simply wants to make the easiest decision, you turn them around, you make them go back to their desk, and impress upon them to take the time to think through all of the options and do some hard, creative problem solving. This is what we expect from you. I'd like you to tell us publicly what you have done to address this issue. Have you had closed-door board meetings about it? Have you had meetings with parents, teachers, and/or administrators to solve the issue? Has our new superintendent convened a special committee to address it? I have yet to hear or see any movement by the board or the superintendent that shows an intention to address the issue to the constituents it affects. There have been many very good suggestions on how to help mitigate the costs and find a short-term solution, such as revisiting retirement options and pushing off the elementary math textbook adoption, but you've heard them all and you know what you need to consider, or come up with new ones. Additionally, I find it absolutely offensive that your CFO would actually consider, and worse yet, publicly suggest that the parents help pay for teachers' salaries when it is the district's purview to manage your finances responsibly, and I underscore responsibly. How that comment was just glossed over by the board and the superintendent is baffling to me. I feel you should be ashamed of yourselves. You may think this is an isolated issue to ER because we are just one of 5 schools and we are the most affected. While you think this may be a minor nuisance to you, I can assure you that the parent population is prepared to keep a spotlight on the issue. You are public servants. You were voted in, you can be voted out. So I urge you, please, take the time, the consideration, the thoughtfulness, and the creativity to come up with some solutions so that you have a short-term solution, so that you have a year to plan and figure out what you're doing. Thanks.
Darlene, is it Prizitel? Yes.
I'm just going to make this short and sweet. I'm a grandmother, and my grandson goes to El Rodeo. And I am urging you to please reconsider letting go of these wonderful teachers, because it's going to be a problem to get them back if they, in fact, do look for another job thinking that they're not going to have one. And we do have such a wonderful school district. And the reason why I moved here over 40 years ago was because of the wonderful reputation that Beverly Hills High School and the elementary schools had. And I own an apartment building, and I have tenants that have moved here just so that their children can go to the school district. This is a wonderful school district, and I'm hoping that we can continue having the integrity that this school district is known for. And I do urge you to please, as a grandmother, let's keep our great teachers and let's keep our district with the integrity that it has had in the past 40 years that I've been here. Thank you.
Thank you. Accommodations and recognitions. First, the team behind the Every 15 Minutes program, Dr. Breggy.
Thank you. So Les Bronte is a former mayor, and he continues to have such a significant impact on our community. Les is somebody that reached out to me early on, and we met, and I have been so impressed with his engagement in the community, his availability, his visibility, and we'd like to recognize him for his work with Every 15 Minutes. And we'd like him to please step to the mic and introduce his team.
Thank you very much, and we're honored to be here tonight. This is definitely the A-team. We were together since 2007 and had the opportunity to do 5 events, right? 5 events. And every one of these gentlemen, this gentleman and the ladies behind me, have given of their time unselfishly, because this program meant so much to them personally. They had they were unselfish with their time, but the passion never ceased. We have had some bumps in the road, the closing of the auditorium, and with the team, with the help of the Beverly Hilton, who gave us 2 evenings actually with 800 seats at no cost to the team. We had, I must put a shout out for the principal. Dave was terrific. He came to us with experience of doing the every 15-minute program in several of the schools that he was the principal. But for all of us here, it's something that we are proud to put on. And if I may, I'd like to introduce each one individually and ask them to say a few words. Okay. You want to ladies first. So I'm glad you had an opportunity to listen to them. They're fighting. But we still get everything done. Please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Setien. I'm the father of Vahagan Setien, who was a student in this high school, and he was killed by a drunk driver in 2006. I'm also the chairman of the Vahagan Setien Charitable Foundation, which is so kindly and generously supported by this community. It was created for the purpose of serving this community and making sure that all the programs that were involved are saving lives. But I myself and 10 foundations like Vahagan Setien Charitable Foundation would not be accomplished all the things that have been accomplished without the support, participation, and help of all the wonderful people that have been involved, especially with every 15-minute program. The team you see here is the team that started it back in 2008, was our first one in May, then 2010, 2012, 2015, 2017. And I guarantee you, many, many lives were saved. Even though our motto was, even if one life is saved, we consider it a well-done job. But I'm telling you, really, seriously, the amount of people who come back to us, the amount of people who thank these people for the numerous months of hard work, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. So please give it to them a big time, because they're very committed people and they're wonderful. Okay, and I'll let them come and say individually all, but again, we thank you all for allowing it to do it, because we had our hurdles. We had a time when they said, oh, why are we doing this program? It's not all about alcohol. Every 15-minute program is not about drinking and driving only. It's about decision making, period. And those decisions go from drinking to drugs, and I don't want to spend a whole list here because you all know they exist. But in the end, it comes to the point when these kids, before taking a step, need to just hold for a second and say, why am I doing this? How this can end? I wish we had this program before my son died, because maybe he wouldn't have gotten into that car. He knew the driver was drunk. He went there to take care of 2 kids, 2 others. He felt it's his responsibility. But I wish he said instead, we're not coming with you, you're drunk. Go ahead. They think they're invisible. They think this not happen to them. It happens to other people in the news because they're so young and hot-blooded and all, but it can happen to anyone. That's the goal of this program. Thank you.
I'm Jody Galen. I'm the PTSA president at this amazing high school, and it's been my honor for the last many years to work on this program. It really is a collaboration of the entire city, the school board, the district, the superintendent, our amazing principal, Mr. Jackson. Everyone works so closely together, PTA Council, the PTSA, BHEF. It really is a community coming together to save lives. BHEF graciously donated these flashlights that all the students were given, and they have on their keychains. And sometimes at the gym, I'll run into a 25-year-old who was part of this program ages ago, and they still have that keychain on there, reminding them if they're somewhere and they're under the influence, perhaps let's call Uber, or let's do something else and not drive. So it's been my honor, and I'm so appreciative of everyone that supported the program. We had a big committee that's worked on this for an entire year. There were about 20 of us. So we're so appreciative to all of them, and to so many of our restaurants and businesses that really came together to make the program work. So thank you all, and hopefully we've saved a bunch of lives.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Gail Millen, and I'm, first of all, very proud to be an alumni of El Rodeo, I think the high school, and I got involved a number of years ago when my oldest child was a senior. And on the other hand, I wear 2 hats. I'm a nurse at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. I'm an education program coordinator, so I really have been privileged that Cedars-Sinai has stood behind this program and joined us in many ways. We work with our trauma team At first, finding different areas so we could recreate for the kids coming through what it would be like, and more importantly for their parents also, what would it be like if a tragedy would occur and they would have to come to the hospital, lose a child, or have a serious injury. I'm really proud to say over the last 2 years we have a state-of-the-art, over-the-top, wonderful simulation lab. And they opened that up for this program to our community so we could work with our paramedics, our trauma team, nurses, doctors, social workers, and really recreate the children coming in, or the students are brought in by the paramedics, just like it would be in real life, brought into a trauma room, then put into a state-of-the-art simulation lab that is an operating room, put into then an intensive care room, and really have that full experience. So again, run it as a practice exercise. So it's a real win-win, I think, for both our trauma team to have a practice and for the paramedics and for the students. So again, I'm very honored. It's a wonderful program, and we thank you for your support.
Good evening. Thank you for having us, and thank you for honoring us. My name is Lisa K. Schwartz. Not only have I been involved in this, I'm also a health and safety commissioner in our great city of Beverly Hills. So when they say it takes a village, we really mean it, because our city, our police, our fire, Cedars-Sinai, our staff, our APs, Dave Jackson, everyone at the school. I see even Michelle Dar Halimi over there, from who used to, when she was just a teacher here before she even became an AP, helped tremendously with us, and now she is our fearless leader at Hawthorne, where I went to school, Hawthorne and Beverly, a few years ago, and I still have my ASB card. At any rate, so I do want to thank all the administration. Thank you for letting us do this. I know for a fact, I've had students, I work out Equinox, I have people walking up to me all the time saying, we saw the program, whether it was 10 years ago, recently, I went off to college, it made me think twice, and so now I know that I can call Uber, I have other choices, I can call my parents. So we're all about education. So we are also want to educate our parents in allowing our students to do things, but to get home safely, which is obviously the bottom line and the most important part. So we are also working on some continuing education through the school year with the after the Every 15 Minutes program. So again, thank you. Thanks to everybody.
And I do want to give a shout out to a wonderful city, because the police and the fire department participated, and each member volunteered. They came in on their own time to make this program possible. So it was just a lot of wonderful, as you heard, a lot of wonderful individuals who are truly dedicated. What I'd like to do is to read to you the students who participated spent the night in the local hotel, and that opportunity was given to them to write a letter to their parents. The letter is very emotional. It comes from the heart. And when we did the assembly, what we call a memorial assembly, each of the students had their letter that they wrote, and the parents had spent the evening also writing a letter to their child, who was a victim of the crash scene we had, the event. So I selected randomly a letter, and I realized that I knew this person, a young lady that I still know, and I know her family. I'm very close to them. But I did not know until I read part of this letter who she was, because the letters are not given to us randomly. So if I may, I'm going to try and read this letter to you. Mom, how could I do something so selfish to the woman who has given me everything? You've been there for me through it all. Even I thought it was unnecessary, you were always there. So how come I couldn't have made one different choice and been there for you? I wish I would do anything for one more moment with you. Most kids are embarrassed about their parents, but Mom, much as I say I am, I actually aspire to be just 1/4 the person that you are. I owe you everything, Mom. My morals, my attitude, my love for the world. I'm so sorry for all the times I talked back to you when I didn't feel like coming to help you with your computer. And I'm so sorry for all the times I told you not to come to an event because no parents would be there. I know I get stubborn with you and don't love admitting that you're right, but hey, you were right again. If I just didn't get into the car, I wouldn't have destroyed my life and ruined yours. The worst part is knowing, Mom, how much I've hurt you. Who is going to be your girl in the house filled with boys? Who will tell you what outfit to wear when you go out? Who will yell at you for giving a tone you don't like? You taught me everything, Mom. No words written on a piece of paper can capture our relationship. You're one of the few who only wanted the best for me. Mom, I'm so sorry. You deserve more, and I keep thinking how awful. Even if I knew this would happen, would cause you so much pain that you'd never have second regrets. In each life, you're lucky to get one person you love more than any. I'm so lucky. I just don't want you to think that I don't love you for putting you through this. But so please, please, don't let this ruin you, because imagining you hurts me. I guess this goodbye letter is more than me talking about how much you love me, but who will you believe I loved you, even if I did the most selfish thing to you. I wish our time together was longer so we could not waste the moments fighting, because even our time was unlimited, it would have never been enough. So just the thought of you and I and not having each other is too overwhelming to think about. I wish I could change my decision to show my love for you. Are you all my 17 years of happy and healthy life? Don't let this kill you, Mom. I've never felt more loved or inspired by any other woman. You raised me along with my two best friends, so please be there for them. I wouldn't wanted my life to be filled with anyone's love but yours. I think I just keep rambling because I never want to say goodbye to you, and to have to say I love you for one last time. I'm so sorry this is the last time. Mom, I love you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Les, on behalf of the Board of Education and the administration and the staff, we'd like to just recognize you and your team and thank you very much for bringing such an impactful program to our school district.
It's our honor. Thank you very much. We're probably going to let this be in the principal's office and the outer office so that everyone can see it. We're very proud and very honored, and we'll keep up the spirit. You parents, keep up the dialogue with your children, please. Make them the right choice. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have the pleasure of meeting and honoring the Apple Award recipients. Dr. Breggy?
There's no more important celebration than when we have the opportunity to celebrate our colleagues and their accomplishments. The Apple Awards, they're designed to showcase select individuals for their excellence and their service to our school district. The Apple Awards are sponsored by the PTA Council, and they will be held on April 19th at the Science and Technology Center from 5 to 6:30. And would the following people please come down to be recognized, and please come down and just stay down for a quick picture. The first person is Kalia Shiner. Kalia was not able to be with us tonight, but I do want to let you know that she came to Beverly Hills High School in 1988, where she was charged to develop the Hebrew program and also increase the enrollment, and she certainly did that. She also worked with the College Board, which is so extremely impressive, to assist in developing the SAT-2 in Hebrew. Next, Elizabeth Schwab. Elizabeth is a special education teacher at Beverly Hills High School, and this is her 5th year in the school district, and she's been instrumental in creating curriculum and some structure in the program, as well as helping to integrate some of the programs with students working in the community. Next, David Siskin. David is a social studies teacher at Horace Mann, and David joined the district about 27 years ago, beginning at Beverly Hills High School and then at Horace Mann. And David is actively involved in BHEA, technology coordinator for Horace Mann, member of the district tech team, and also a mentor teacher and the BITS program. Carly Verstegen. Carly has worked at Beverly Vista for 3 years, El Rodeo for 1 year, and at Beverly Vista for 6 years. She currently serves as school's assessment coordinator and K2 technology committee leader. Marcy Scholler. Marcy is a resource specialist at Hawthorne, and she has been at Hawthorne for about 12 years, and she served on the Site Council, ILT, Title I coordinator, and also a sponsor for Student Council. Michelle Ziskind. Michelle was a student at Beverly Vista and also Beverly Hills High School, while her mother was also a teacher at Horace Mann and El Rodeo. Michelle began her BHUSD career at El Rodeo in 1998, and she loves working with her 4th grade students, and she's very focused on her high expectations for all students. Our next two Apple Award winners could not be with us, but I want to just briefly mention Dave Jackson, whose name's come up several times tonight, a principal at Beverly Hills High School, and he's held a myriad of positions all over the place in a variety of locations, and we're just so pleased to have him and also have him spend his last few weeks as the principal here at Beverly Hills High School. Also, Gino Garcia, who is one of our directors. He's Director of Maintenance and Operations, and he could not be with us this evening, but he began his career here 29 years ago, and he has been instrumental in working with our district in various capacities, including all the work that we're doing with modernization. At this time, I'd also like the principals to come join us for a quick picture, and our Apple Award recipients will be awarded formally on April 19th. I can't wait to see you there. So we'll do a quick picture.
Let's go right up here. Let's go right up here.
Against the wall.
How are you? Thank
Colleagues, we are now at item 9 of the agenda, Business and Finance. 9A, LACO review of our second interim budget report. Dr. Brady?
And Ms. Kirk Carter Latham will let us, will continue with some of the discussion that we've had on the second interim budget.
I apologize, my computer just came and I'm not up yet, but the LACO letter is just presented for your information and for communication to the community.
Any questions or comments? All right. Item 9B, approval, ratification to contract with LACO to administer SMAA claims. Dr. Brady?
Go ahead and take that.
Yes, we've, as presented here and outlined in the item, we were looking for additional areas to bring revenue to the district. And the director of fiscal, she used to work at Linwood Unified, and they were participating in this program. And we felt that we could participate with little, it wouldn't be a lot of activity to the staff. And so we asked them to do some cost estimates for us, and as presented in the item, over a 3-year period, we could receive and reimbursements as much as $1 million, just under. And it's just for simple activities that our staff is already doing. They send a staff member a survey and let us know what you were doing that minute. And if a staff member is helping a child with an accident or calling a parent or following up on any sick student or anything like that, is a reimbursable moment. And so it is spread amongst our entire consortium. It's just another way that we see, a small way, but that we can tap any resources that we can bring into the school district.
Thank you. Colleagues, any comment?
I'll make a motion to approve ratification of the contract with LACO to administer the SMAA claims.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Margot, second by Mr. Goldstein. Any discussion?
Ms. Carter, if we pay the fee twice for 35, could we get $2 million in reimbursement?
I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah,
Any other comment?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. There's an estimate of a little under $1 million over 3 years that could be saved. What is the reality?
That could be reimbursed.
Reimbursed. What is the reality? Is that, how do we budget that, or how have we budgeted that? If we previously have not budgeted for that reimbursement?
We have never participated in this district, in this program. The program used to be very, very cumbersome in other districts, and they've streamlined it now to this random moment in time. We probably wouldn't budget any of this revenue until we actually saw it come in and get a feel for how much we actually get as part of the consortium. But it is actually reimbursed, it's money, it's revenue coming in, not savings.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Item 9C is presentation and acceptance of the 2015-16 Measure Performance Audit. Dr. Brady.
And so this is a California requirement that there is a audit that's done, a performance audit on our bond, and I'll let go ahead and continue.
Yes, I'd like to call up Peter Jensen and Stephen Bucati. We, as you recall, as a condition of a Prop 39 bond, you must perform not only a financial audit, but also a performance audit. In prior years, you've used Harvey Rose. The COC committee, Citizens Oversight Committee, as well as district staff, we went through an RFP, and we selected Moss Adams as our new performance audit vendor. and so presented to you this evening, and they will, and in front of you are the topics that they'll be discussing. They were on your seat. So with that, I'll turn it over to Peter and Stephen.
Hi, thank you for having us tonight. As Ms. Kurt Carter said, we're here to discuss the performance audit on the bond program. What this is a GAGAS audit, a government audit. So there's, by the Yellow Book standards, there's very defined rules on how we evaluate this, how we go through this. Our firm, Moss Adams, is a large firm. We do a number of these. I head up our construction audit group, so both Steve and myself primarily spend all of our time doing construction auditing, both with school districts as well as other entities. So we're familiar kind of across different industries. This audit took place over the last 3 or 4 months, but really the time period of this audit went from July 1st, 2015 through June 31st, 2016. That's important just to kind of take into context with what we're going to be talking about today. Currently, right now, we're already in the period of the next audit. We'll kind of discuss this at the end, the importance of the action items coming out of this, that they get put into place on a relatively quick time frame for the sole fact is that really your next audit you're already 3/4 of the way, almost all the way through your next audit period, which can cause some timing problems, and we can discuss that a little bit further. But I'm going to let Steve get into the details of the report, and then we will answer any questions.
Good evening, everyone. Board of Education members, district members, and guests. My name is Stephen Bicchetti, and I am a manager with Moss Adams within the group that handles the performance audits. It was a pleasure working with the district members. A lot of people helped me out greatly with kind of wandering around the district and the school sites, getting information, and so I appreciate all the efforts because I know you guys have day jobs in addition to the audit. I'm pleased to present our audit report for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2016. As Peter said, this is a state constitution educational code requirement. It requires an annual independent performance audit to verify that the bond proceeds are used per the list of projects on the ballot language. Generally accepted government auditing standards, or GAGAS, is required and defines the term performance audit and the related professional standards. No exceptions were noted in terms of the expenditures to the ballot language, which is the requirement, which is good. Our audit also covered the district controls surrounding the bond program. The expenditure population for fiscal year 2016 was used as the basis for our sample, which kind of incorporated procurement, budget, etc. This additional coverage is not a requirement for the state. However, the district extended the audit for a more comprehensive coverage. Therefore, the observation and recommendations discussed going forward are purely improvement recommendations to make the bond program more efficient and effective. Before we get into the audit findings, I want to discuss good practices, which there were many. The district utilized other revenue sources to maximize the impact of Measure E funds. The COC, or Citizens Oversight Committee, meetings were posted on the district website, and the district website was updated on a regular basis with key project information. Additionally, the district has policies and procedures related to the construction activity, and this is one I haven't seen, which I think is a great practice, is they reconciled their fiscal year 15-16 expenditures via a contract with California Financial Services. So it's a third party that kind of validated that the expenditures lined up with financial records. Okay, now we'll get into the audit report. The first grouping is expenditure management and controls. And kind of how we are going through this is you guys have the executive summary, and then the details, all the 30 pages of details are behind. So I'll reference the objectives in the body report, but I'll stay within the executive summary just because you guys don't have time or for 35 pages of kind of detailed audit talk. So anyways, so the first observation was the district processed and paid a vendor invoice prior to receiving approval per the policies and procedures. So this was an isolated incident. We sampled 60 expenditures, and this was the only instance where the interim direct chief facilities officer had not signed off on the invoice, and LACO did approve it. So our recommendation here is to kind of relook at the controls and procedures in place to make sure that you are getting the proper sign-offs before this goes to LACO. The next one is the district payment procedures lacked adequate documentation to validate compliance with district policies and procedures and contractual agreements. So per the policies and procedures, there's a 45-day requirement per the day of receipt of the invoice, and many of your design contracts require 30 days of once you guys receive it. So as a great practice, they would timestamp the invoices when you guys receive it so you can actually validate that they're being compliant with the contract or other requirements. And we weren't able to validate this on all the samples. It was taking place in some. So our recommendation is, which is an easy fix, is you just timestamp it when you get it, and you can make sure that you're compliant with your contract terms. Next one, which is objective 5. Certain labor charges totaling approximately $96,770 were allocated between the bond program and other district activities without direct cost identification. So all this means is there was no time cards for people that weren't fully dedicated to the bond program. So as a best practice, if you're not fully dedicated, we'd expect time cards to validate that what you're charging is compliant or is in relation to the measure. That being said, the people that were just allocated based off a percentage, for example, administrative assistant facilities, which was Barbara, who was basically 100% allocated to the bond program. So I think it was under allocated based off inquiry and just from observations of seeing everything. And then the other allocations were for the director of maintenance and operations and the custodial manager, which were allocated on a 10% basis, which was based off periodic O&M meetings. So that being said, I don't think this is a huge area of risk, but if you guys do get more proceeds or in the future, to make sure that you guys are keeping track of time for people that aren't fully dedicated, because if you guys have a lot more going on, there's a lot more area of risk. The next piece of this observation is one of our analysis. We analyzed the labor distribution report to the financial cost records, and it didn't line up about by 3,000. And that's where we kind of did the analysis of making sure that the people that were getting coded were compliant. And there was an unreconciled difference of about 3,236. It appeared to be based off a difference between what the benefits that we're picking up within the two different reports. The number was actually larger, and it was kind of a tedious process to kind of say this was allocated to it for the benefits. So again, it's a very small amount in relation to the whole amount, but I think it's a good control issue to kind of make sure that your labor distribution report is reconciled to the financial records for a good control process. Next, moving on to program management, objective 6, policy and procedures were not consolidated and means for updating the manuals were not documented. When we were doing our procurement and other audit procedures, we had to look into a couple different places, whether it's the facilities and planning procedural manual or a couple CUPCA process and procedures, which there were some overlaps there, and the various resolutions. So our recommendation here is consolidating the information to one central location, have some sort of procedure in place that when you guys are updating it, which is the best practice is you update it on a yearly basis or no less than 3 years, that you kind of have a system in place to update it, and that's kind of where we have that. So consolidate it and then have a control process for updating the procedures to make sure that it's current with the processes that are being applied. Next one, which is objective 7. The district did not have well-defined policies and procedures surrounding in-house and consultant staff for the bond program. Basically, Totem, the project management for the fiscal year, did provide a staffing plan for the fiscal year. So it was projecting, but in a best practice environment, we'd expect to kind of see that it's a projection and a monthly basis report where based off construction activity or procurement activity, whatever's deemed the best gauge to managing the funds by the district, that you can make sure that they're allocating at the program level and at the project level on an adequate basis to make sure that there's not staffing redundancies and also not understaffing the jobs, which can cause potential issues. The next one, which is budgetary management and change order reporting, which is objective 8. The monthly report that you guys get is very detailed. We do a lot of these, and you guys get the most detail. But one of the key things that I think is a good improvement recommendation is the budgets that you guys evaluated on is the 294 million, which you guys approved, the 334, which is the total issuance, and then the total projected one. But what you guys are missing is what the actual available allowances or what the issuances have been, which was the 200 million. So nowhere in those reports can you kind of say this is the cash that we're playing with right now, and what are the budgets and the committed values and the expenditures with that. So our recommendation is when you guys get future fundings, to make sure that as you approve the amounts that you guys are playing with, that you guys allocate the budgets in relation to that, in addition to the long range. So it's good to have a current and a long range master plan for budgeting. Change order reporting. Our observation here was you guys didn't have a detailed change order report for each project in the monthly reporting. Totem does have good financial or change order reporting by project. It's just not within the monthly reporting. So when we were going through it, the monthly reporting, there's only like 2 or 3, but you guys have a lot more projects going on. And our recommendation would be that you have detailed change order reporting, which is available. They have good record keeping, but you guys have it for the individual projects. So it creates a more transparent and accountable, it creates reporting that end users can understand what's going on the projects.
Can I just ask you, so what about like staffing? Should that also be then updated monthly?
The staffing plan?
Yeah.
So what we see in a best practice environment, it's kind of the district's control of making sure that any consultants or construction managers it's staffed according to their metrics. So that might just be a district control that doesn't necessarily need to be in the monthly reporting. Maybe it is. It's kind of management's decision on kind of how to manage that.
Okay.
So, but if you don't have that, then you don't know.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I also think a best practice would be to have any staffing changes or any change to the plan be included in the update, but if it's not, have it stay as is, just because you don't also want to be overwhelmed with information.
Right.
So we've seen in best cases where any updates get updated, but if there's no update, it just is left as is.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Peter. And then finally, which I kind of jumped down, the cash flow report is within the financial monthly reporting that you guys get. However, I didn't see a cash flow specific to the 200 million issuance at the time of the audit, which I think is critical information to kind of know, do I have enough cash to pay for the projects that we currently have? Okay, moving on to procurement procedures and controls, objective 9A. The district did not have competitive solicitation documentation available for 7 professional service contractors. Just because we didn't receive the documentation doesn't necessarily mean that the process and procedures were not in place. So our role as auditors, we request the information, and if we get it, we can validate that the process and procedures in place. So I just want to make that clarification that we just weren't able to receive the documentation for these. And our improvement recommendation is definitely have a central location, whether it's electronic or a physical location, to keep track of all these files to kind of make sure that you guys have proper documentation to kind of validate your process and procedures. We often see a checklist or equivalent with appropriate sign-offs by file is a great practice to implement, to kind of making sure that you guys have a consolidated package that kind of confirms the policies and procedures that you guys are signing off on. Next one, 9B, the district's professional service contracts included change orders for new scopes for amounts in excess of stated policy requiring competitive solicitation for new services. This is not specifically unallowable, but the change orders, so if you have a consulting agreement over 83,400, you guys need to get you guys need to solicit it on a competitive basis to make sure that you guys are getting a fair price. What the policy and procedures are silent on is change orders. So there's no limit to consulting change orders. So when we kind of were going through the audits, we saw extensive amounts of change orders within the architects and consultants. And when we were going through the detail, there were often cases where it was new scopes of work that didn't seem to be lined up with the original scopes, which weren't competitively bid, or the documentation wasn't there to validate that. We're not saying that this is a non-compliance with policy procedures because it's not there, but we're recommending that you reevaluate the policy and procedures to make sure that's in line with what you guys want, because maybe that it is more cost efficient to have the same person there, but without getting competitive bids or kind of someone that is well-versed in kind of the change orders that are occurring, you don't know if you're getting a fair price for what you're doing, so that we would recommend that. Moving on to 9C, a professional service consultant subcontracted out specialty contractor work under a consulting agreement. This is the first time I've seen a case like this where you have a professional service agreement, however you change order in work that was specific to construction. The policy procedures don't specifically say this is non-allowable, but I think it's the intent of the policies that you kind of keep construction and design consulting agreements separate. So we noted it, and we would recommend that the policy, that you guys make sure that the policy procedures are clear on instances like this, and if this is not what you guys had intended, that there's controls in place to kind of prevent these future cases. Moving on to objective 9D, the district was unable to provide a contract for prime source consulting, which is the outsourced chief facilities officer. Again, this kind of goes in line with the prior observation. There's not a consolidated physical file or electronic file to have all the information. So if there was this control or documentation control around the contracts, I think it would be there. I think based off conversations, if they looked hard enough, they probably could have found it. But I think that's not the best practice. It's best practice to even have an electronic copy where the people that are in control can have easy access and easy way of getting the information, or it's within a storage cabinet that is easily that you can easily get the information. Moving on. Objective 10, formal policy and procedures and monitoring controls to prevent and detect procurement fraud were not available. District policy and procedures regarding, there are policies for preventing fraud, but there's nothing specific to procurement. And so our recommendation here is to have policy and procedures that are specific to procurement, which include reporting protocols, training requirements, and escalation procedures. Objective 11, the claims avoidance policy. You guys do have a claims avoidance policy and procedure. However, there's no documentation to kind of validate that reporting or documentation was available on a monthly basis to identify potential claims and management's response to limit those. And that kind of concludes the objectives in our audit of those objectives. Again, I really appreciate all the district members and everyone involved in kind of getting the documentation. It was great working with everyone. And I think I'll leave it to Peter to kind of end it from here.
Again, just to echo on Steve's comments, there were a lot of observations. The report is really thick. We do understand that. There's a lot of things the district is actively working on getting better at, as well as hopefully some of these ideas in here can help. But the district is doing well with, in that the size of the report isn't a reflection of how the program's going. We think the program is going well, but there is obviously things that can be improved. We would like to thank the staff for helping us with the document requests and going through everything. The first time you bring in a new performance auditor, it's pretty in-depth because we have to kind of get to know the program in order to be able to really evaluate it. And really, the period of this was kind of shortened just due to the timing of it. So it was really a pretty big drag, I would assume, on the district, us asking for all these things, interviewing and all of that. This coming year, we're going to be doing the performance audit again. What will be great is we'll have pretty much a full year to work with the district, so timing won't be as big of an issue. The quality of the report is not affected due to the timing. It just took a lot more effort from the district in a shorter time period, as well as the audit team. So I just want to reflect that. We'd like to open it up for any questions the board might have.
Any questions, comments? Colleagues?
No, we need a motion to accept.
Well, why don't, we will. Let's hear comments and questions first, and then we'll do a motion.
Well, there'll be discussion, so.
All right, may I have a motion?
Sure. I'll move to approve the acceptance of the 2015-16 Measure E performance audit.
I'll second.
All right, moved by Mr. Goldstein, second by Mr. Margot. And now, questions?
Well, thank you very much for this comprehensive report. I've been on this board 3 years. I was previously on the Citizens Oversight Committee for a number of years. This is my third performance audit as a board member. This is now my third superintendent as a board member. And I believe at least my third chief facilities officer. And I'm sure you're aware that we're currently looking for a chief facilities officer. As I look through this, a lot of your recommendations is to direct the newly, it's in arrears, but to direct the newly hired chief facilities officer, and direct the chief facilities officers, whether we're done with budget and communications, program management and planning. Clearly, we understand our roles. The buck stops with us. We get that. But to be able to accomplish your recommendations, it would appear that most of this falls with the chief facilities officer. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. We're currently looking for one. There's a lot of granular information in here, so I'm not going to get into it. I read it to understand it, recognizing there's a number of things that we've discussed that are still on the book, so to speak, that we could have done better and should have done better, but yet failed to do so. So we have to be honest about that. Moving forward, because we can't change the past, we can only look forward now. And we're hiring a chief facilities officer, currently looking for one. Aside from somebody that has some understanding of facilities, how important is it to have somebody with business acumen? Because a lot of this really just deals with business aspects. Is that somebody or something that we should be focusing on when we're, just with regard to our performance of this bond? Somebody with a lot of business background?
Yes. We work with a number of districts. We do this with some of the bigger bond programs, and we would consider you guys to have a big bond program. It's a little bit smaller of a district, but a big bond program. We work with big districts with big bond programs, but really for the facilities director, they have a lot of importance in that there's a lot of stakeholders in the district that care adamantly about what happens with the money and how it's spent. It really works. The chief facilities officer has to be strong in a lot of different areas. Construction, obviously, is very important, but also the business acumen, like you speak of, is a big piece of it. Also, being able to work with different members of the team is a big one. And where I think we've seen the biggest hurdles is when the chief facilities officer is kind of operating on his own, doesn't have support from the district, or might not be looking for support from the district. Really, I think the teamwork aspect, to have the best bond program, is everything from the admin and the site people through maintenance, chief facilities, and then the district admin and the board, of course. So yes, I think a business background, and yes, there's a lot of things that need to be diligently done. I also think the chief facilities officer needs a support staff to be able to handle the size of program that he's dealing with. A lot of things Steve brought up here have to do with documentation, have to do with lack of documentation, where we couldn't find evidence on something. So, and that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means as an audit, when we come and look at it, there's nothing to prove that it did happen or it didn't happen. So there's a lot of components to it. It's kind of a watered down answer, but I think, yes, business acumen is very important, but I think there's some other very key things too.
Great, Dr. Breggy. I look forward to your final recommendation on a chief facilities officer.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I was going to say, part of this feels like deja vu every year, and part of it is there seems like when we take a step forward, we also take a step back. like Mr. Goldstein said, a lot of that has to do with the turnover in personnel. We cannot get anything consistent, therefore we cannot consistently implement the practices. We cannot consistently make sure that policy manuals address these concerns. I look forward to what the future holds for this program. Hopefully right now we're at a slower point where we can actually kind of, adjust the suspenders a little bit and then move forward. And thank you guys for the report.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for the report. Just a few notations. I noticed, being on the COC, that it was the prior, the auditors that came before you had a common practice of interviewing board members. I did not see that. Was that actually happened this time? And it could be because you were running out of time. Is that probably why you didn't do that? Or is that not a practice you usually practice?
No, somewhat had to do with time on this. We did talk with a couple of the COC members, and they echoed some of their concerns. I think it will be definitely something we'll be reaching out to you guys in this process, especially as we are more looking at the scope. Really, this last scope was kind of defined with what was in the RFP. It was it was a very good scope. It was very well put together, but it was a large scope and for the amount of time we had. This next year, the scope's going to be of equal size, but we'll have considerable amount more time. And I think really planning the audit and doing the risk assessment and going through those steps is where we really want to get you guys involved.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. I did have a question. I have a few questions, actually, and on the procurement procedures and controls. So I saw the report. I read it all. And I had a question about the district and not having the competitive solicitation documentation available for 7 active professional service contractors. And so I asked what those 7 contractors were. And so I did receive an answer. It was DLR, HMC, Layton Consulting, Murphy and Everett's, Prime Source Consulting, Totem Project Management, and WLC Architects. So here's the question that I have as a board member. This seems to be a recurring theme with the audits that have been pressed in the past and now this one. And so many times I have asked, sitting here, when I see amendments come through, for example, for HMC, I ask, is this a new contract, or why is it, if it exceeds 83, is it $83,000 or 80? I forget the amount. It's somewhere around that vicinity. And I'm told it's an amendment. It's an amendment. And yet we get written up for it. So it seems that we have a difference in practice, as some of these contracts should be served to the board as separate contracts, not as amendments, but they keep coming back to us as amendments. And I'm told that it's because we are extending some of the service, we're requesting an extension of services that we did not originally request when we had the original contract. And so how do we get around that? Because we keep getting written up for that. And in fact, just looking at my agenda tonight, there's 2 items under facilities, again, for Layton and HMC. 2 of the contractors who we got written up for on this audit that you prepared. And the extensions are above that amount that I just discussed. So are we doing something wrong in practice? Because it seems like we are.
Sure. No. So there's nothing in your policy procedures or state law or regulations that say that this is a non-compliant or something that you guys are not allowed to do. What our recommendation is to make sure that that is okay, because we do quite a few of these, and we don't see the change order amounts that we do that we saw here. So one, it's making sure that how you guys are procuring is in line with what you guys want. And then 2, I think a good practice would be to kind of understand if we are going in excess of the 83,000, is if it's new scope, maybe there needs to be some sort of dialogue or documentation to say it's better for us to do this versus go out and get a competitive price because of timing or whatever the other factors that might impact that. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make sure that your procurement practices are getting the most cost efficient. You're getting the services at the most in a very cost efficient manner. So when we see excessive change orders, when you're not competitively bid, we can't validate that you could have got the services for cheaper or yeah.
Okay.
Can I jump in on that?
Yes, go ahead.
So, for example, let's say for a change order for an architect or an amendment to the agreement, they're in the middle of constructing something, something has to get changed, maybe brought up by the DSA inspector, the architect has to do more work. Now, there's different reasons. They're either omissions and errors, contract error, or owner, or, the school district decides to change their mind. When these have come up, I have always asked in the past, have we negotiated these fees and these amendments? And the answer is always emphatically, oh, yes, we have. I don't know what that entails. I don't know how hard our team is negotiating on our behalf. But what I'm concerned about the other options. At that point, it's unrealistic to believe we can move to a different firm for an amendment, for a change in an actual building. It could be a detail, it could be a specific engineering detail that they need or that the fabricators need. What do we do in that case? If it's, you're saying it's not against, we're not doing anything that's non-compliant, but we could do it better. I'm actually curious, how could we do it better?
Yep. And then the one clarification is the cases that we pointed on the audit report are new scopes of work. So what you were addressing were you get into a modernization building, and I went to a couple of them, and there's no way what is behind the walls until you pull back the wall. So where we kind of focused on, it's new scopes that are not within the original contract, and that's kind of where our focus area was, because it's why didn't you potentially competitively bid? And what you said maybe doesn't make sense, but I think that documentation justification should be there, if that's kind of how you guys want to proceed, or there should be kind of policy procedures that kind of dictate the rules or the documentation requirements for those type of.
I think the latter would be the proper course of action, and I think that should be defined clearly in future contracts, but immediately in our practice. We can implement that immediately in our practice, because this is not going to stop anytime soon, hopefully, as we continue with the program. So that's that. I would support that as a board member in making sure that we revert to more of that approach in our future contracts and amendments and change orders about defining the new scope, whether the scope of work is new or just an addition. So thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Just to piggyback on what my colleagues said, when I was here many years ago. I don't know if Noah hired these architects, but we went through a competitive process and we chose them. So I appreciate you wouldn't have that history, but those architects were chosen by previous boards. So they're here, and then obviously, when we have a problem or something changes or you open up the wall and there's something unforeseen, they have to basically draw it out. So we pay for that. I agree we have too many change orders. I will tell you that. It has been, I have been vocal about that at meetings. We have way too many change orders for a ground-up new building, period. However, the architects basically don't create their own work. We ask them for work, someone puts them to work, and so therefore they work. What I just wanted to ask you, these recommendations, I think, most of them are doable, if not all of them. What is the likely timeline that a district who puts full effort into doing this can get it done? Because I can tell you this is Groundhog Day. I've gone through this, and I really don't want to go through this anymore. I'd like most of these to happen so that when you come back in, 6 months or 10 months or whenever you come back, that you give us a really clean bill of health and you say, you know what? Almost every single thing we asked you to do has been done. Any
Sure.
idea how long it will take? Have
Sure.
you seen it done have you seen districts step up and get it done?
We've seen districts take significant strides.
Okay.
I think with this being the very first report, this kind of spoke to what I said in the very beginning. Time-wise, it's going to be a little bit difficult because what happens is our next audit is really going to be through July 2016 through June 2017, And so we've already covered most of that period.
Right.
So out of our expenditures, what we'll be looking at is in that sample. So in some of that, we're gonna have to take that and look with a grain of salt, with the changing of facilities, chief facility officers and that. I think the biggest stride from the district is putting somebody, the chief facilities officer
Who will
in place.
actually read this report and implement.
I think this report would be a great starting point for them, as well as kind of get to know, when they get to know the district, is sit down with this and go through and look at where some of the deficiencies were, which isn't probably a surprise to anybody here. Do I think the next, I'm optimistic, and yes, I think there can be significant strides be made. And what we can also do is we can document what strides have been put in place.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't been totally we still have some issues just because.
They don't have enough time, right. But you could at least document for the
Yes.
public as well as the board, the migration to achieving
Yep.
these goals,
So
right?
as we scope out this coming audit, this next year, we'll talk with the district about what their plan is, what their implementation plan is for action items. We can also talk about timing when we come in and look at things and what we're looking at, because we can also, so the GAGAS requirement, which is the expenditure testing, is a set period of time. It's the fiscal year for the school. The performance side of it, we can look at extending that a little bit longer to really look at what's happened from June to September, or June to October, and this is something we'll talk with the
I
board
think that would be helpful because
and the district.
you want to take a snapshot in real time after we've set forth, if not all these changes, the vast majority of them.
Yes. we
But
very
I
much-
wanted to commend LaTanya for bringing in California Financial Services. That was your idea. And it was a way to shed light and to have transparency and to basically line things up to know that in fact, we've done it. And there were some people who had dragged their feet in implementing it. And I wanted to say to LaTanya, thank you for persevering and being persistent to get them hired and get them going. And I think what you see now would have been considerably worse if not for LaTanya and CFS coming in. So thank you.
I'd like to say that I heard you say, and I agree, that this is basically a good report.
Yes.
And the variances that you have detailed, I saw that staff has acknowledged them and indicated what they're doing to correct them and adjust for them. So it was a good report, and I anticipate that the next one will be better.
So do we.
Any further comment?
I just had a quick question just about your availability, because one thing that you did here tonight is that there's a new team in place, and I think where we start to benchmark ourselves is right here. You know, I was a superintendent in Illinois for 7 years, and I've never had an audit that had this much detail, which is really impressive, which really gives us clear direction on how to improve our processes and lack thereof. So as we move forward as a team, and when we have the facilities leader in place, and myself and LaTanya, that we would like to at least be able to work with you, because I know that I have some additional questions about how to fulfill some of the responsibilities, just in best practice perspective. I mean, I know that there's a timing issue, but most importantly to me is really getting good systems in place. And I know that I would love to be able to have you as a sounding board as we move along, because as far as the Board of Education, I think that at minimum, an expectation should be that we don't just wait for another year, that we provide you with some regular updates on some of the processes that we've changed along the way. And you can count on that from us.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And now,
Mr. Spitz, I need to step out for a second. You can continue, but I need to attend to something. Thank you.
presentation and acceptance of the 2015-16 Measure E financial audit. Dr. Brady? Yeah, sorry.
Yes, Mr. Spitz, the financial audit, the scope is of course much smaller than the performance audit. we, along with the recommendation from the COC and staff, we decided this year to use the same firm that we use for our general fund financial audit, Moss Levy. I get my Mosses confused. That was Moss Adams, and this is Moss Levy. Hallie Huey, who you are familiar with, has presented us with an unmodified financial report, and he is available for questions. The findings in our report are similar to what are in the performance audit, so it's, you stole his thunder, and so, but I present you Hadley Huey from Moss Levy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, like Latanya said, we issue a modified opinion, and we believe the number is percent according to the standard. And as of June 30th, 2016, there is still around $90 million left to spend. And the district issue about $200 million in bonds. There's 3 bond issues so far. And last year is spending about $43 million in total. And we sample the invoices and look at the expenditure, and I mean, they all in compliance and what's supposed to be spent on, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think
May
that
we have a motion?
The observation that we have is
May we
similar
have a motion
to
to
the performance audit. So.
accept?
Yes, Mr. President, I'll move to accept the 2015-2016 Measure E financial audit.
Motion by Mr. Goldstein, and I'll second by Mr. Spitz. Discussion? Questions?
Just want to confirm that, based on what I'm reading, that every check that was written, every cent is accounted for.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Good.
Always important.
Any other? No? Wonderful.
Thank you.
All
right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
All right.
Accepted. Thank you very much.
See you.
So, I think this brings us to the consent calendar. Have a motion.
Okay, ordinarily, Mr. Margot handles this, but I'll have to check, because I don't see his notes readily available. Did anybody pull anything?
I think one item was pulled by staff. That was E.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar minus item E being pulled.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Goldstein. Is there a second? In which case, Mr.
I'll
Spitz will second.
I'll second, I'm sorry.
All
Mr.
right.
Spitz.
Then the second is by Mrs. Hacker. Now, Measure E is just pulled by staff, is that it?
That was right.
Correct.
We just pulled it.
Correct.
All right. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And that brings us
Reports.
to,
Oh, wait. Yep.
reports.
Yep.
Superintendent.
Just a quick announcement that we are continuing with the hiring of some key positions in the school district, and so we're getting some really good applicants, and I'll keep the board up to date as we move along on our recommendations.
Thank you, Superintendent Brady. Our student board member, Mr. Schwartz, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Spitz. Is this on? Yeah, it is. Well, first of all, just huge congratulations to all the Apple Award winners. Mr. Siskin, you're sitting out in the audience. I had you in 7th grade, and you taught me much about medieval history and Middle Ages. There are a few events going on at the high school in the next few weeks or so, so I just want to mention them. So first of all, we have the STEM Expo tomorrow, 5 to 7, out in the Science Building courtyard, so right out there outside the EDC. I know robotics will be there, certainly many other organizations, and it's always just a lot of fun to see all the cool STEM creations that there are. I remember at the science fair a couple months ago, they had the Gear VR, which is like the virtual reality. I'm sure they might have that there tomorrow. Certainly robotics will be showing off their robot. There's also an art festival being put on by the National Arts Honor Society. That's going to be April 20th from 2 to 6 in the EDC. There's the jazz band's going to be performing. The dance company will be performing. Taylor Briggs and his band will be performing, and art from all the art classes will be shown in the EDC, so stop by. There's also open house in 2.5 weeks or so, April 27th in the evening, about 5-6 o'clock or so, at the high school. And jazz band will be performing. We'll have lots of performances from a lot of student groups. Jazz band, madrigals usually performs. Last year, I think there was even Shakespearean monologues, which Mr. Margot, I think your son took part in. Maybe?
I take no responsibility for that child.
I'm sure he was great. But yeah, those are the events that are coming up in the next 2 weeks or so.
Thank you. That brings us to Human Resources, item 12A. Need an approval, Resolution 2016-2017-333, authorizing an agreement with Keenan Financial Services to design and administer a supplemental early retirement, a SERP, for eligible employees, provided there is a sufficient employee participation. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Margot. Second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hacker. Tanya is gone. Yes.
Yes, we're very happy that you brought up the motion. We have presented you with all the necessary information in the board agenda, and then I separately sent you the entire packet last Friday, or 2 weeks ago on Friday. We're very excited. It's an 85% salary for certificated employees. It is the highest that we've ever offered in Beverly Hills, and we look forward to that. I've already started reaching out to the teachers that had RSVP'd to me about an interest. So we, those emails went out, but tonight, Keenan and Associates is sending every one of the teachers on the list a personal letter with their information packets. We were scheduled to have information meetings at the district office, and then, of course, anyone can talk to any representative at any time they want. Teachers are already starting to go to their STIRS meetings, which would help them a little bit more in their making a decision as to whether or not they would like to retire. So I think everything is going.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
No, just better late than never.
I just really want to thank Dr. Breggy for, I know you just got here, and thank you for taking leadership on this and making it happen, and along with Yolanda. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Any other comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us to 12B, a public hearing, 2016-17 Sunshine items for contract negotiations between California School Boards Association and the Beverly Hills Unified School District. This is a public hearing, period. So the public hearing regarding the proposed sunshine items between the Beverly Hills Unified School District and the California School Employees Association, CSEA. Beverly Hills Chapter 328 is now open at 7 p.m. In compliance with the provision of the Government Code Section 3547.5, the Board of Education of the Beverly Hills Unified School District will receive public input and offers interested parties the the ability to ask questions or make comments on the California School Employees Beverly Hills Chapter 328 articles that will be sunshined for the 2016-17 school year. We now invite members of the audience to address the Board of Education on the proposed articles. Are there any comments? In that case, the public hearing is now closed at 7:01. And I think we need a motion.
Okay, Mr. Spitz, I'll make a motion to approve the articles, proposed issues for contract negotiations between CSEA and the district.
Thank you. Mr. Margot, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goldstein. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next. I think we're at 12C. Public hearing, 2016 management proposal, contract California School Employees Association, Beverly Hills Unified School District. That's the second one. Public hearing regarding the 2016-17 management proposal for contract California School Employees Association, CSEA, the Beverly Hills Unified School District is now open at 7:02. In compliance with the provisions of Government Code Section 3547.5, the Board of Education of the Beverly Hills Unified School District will receive public input and offers interested parties the ability to ask questions or make comments on the Beverly Hills Unified School District management proposal to California School Employees Beverly Hills Chapter 328 articles that will be sunshined for the 2016-17 school year. We now invite members of the audience to address the Board of Education on the proposed articles. Are there any comments? Hearing none. Comment period is closed at 7:03. And
I'll move to approve the 2016-2017 management proposal for contract to California School Employees Association, CSEA, and the Beverly Hills Unified School District.
moved by Mr. Goldstein,
I'll second.
by
I'll
Mr.
second.
Margot. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Planning and Facilities. Item 13A.
Make a motion to approve the amendment number 3 to the agreement with Layton for additional geotechnical material testing for high school modernization project.
Okay, motion by Mr. Margot. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mrs. Hacker. Any comment or questions?
Yeah, I was just slightly hesitant in moving forward with anything related to Building C at this point, but from the answers I think that staff had given regarding the relationship to DSA requirements and plans, it's necessary at least to get the plans out of DSA. So therefore, I will support the amendment.
Right. Any other question, comment? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 13B, acceptance of Beverly Hills High School B4 electrical panel replacement.
I'm going
project.
to bundle a couple of these NOCs. I'll make a motion to accept the high school electrical panel replacement project and authorize the file and notice of completion. And also item 13C, the acceptance of the BV multipurpose room ceiling tile replacement project and authorize that notice of completion and release retention.
I will second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That's B and C. 13D, ratification of agreement issued under Board Resolution 2015-16-039 for moving services, Beverly Vista School, King Office Services. I have a motion.
I'll move to approve the agreement issued under Board Resolution number 2015-2016-039 for moving services at Beverly Vista School with King Office Services.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Goldstein, second by Mr. Margot. Comments or questions?
If we don't pass it, they move everything back?
I think this is indicative of some of our issues with the program because of the date on this. It's almost, a year ago when this service was performed, and this is just coming in front of us now. So this kind of it's a cry for help, I think. So we'll leave it at that. And I don't know who's crying, but.
Any further comment?
I also noticed that we always use King Office Services, and is there a reason for that? I mean.
Well, it's from last
From
summer.
LAC.
Well, we had gotten an estimate, you pointed it out once, it was like 100,000, and then Gino Garcia called them and got an estimate for like 3% of that or something insane, it was like ridiculous. So since then, they've always apparently been very, very, really come in at a great price.
Okay, well,
So.
that's great.
They've been the ones moving.
As long as we're bidding, I mean, it's not over whatever the amount is, correct?
But-
The 80.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to follow up on Mr. Margot's. Although we did approve and ratify the contract back in July 2016, the work was just recently done. So.
No,
is
that's not
this-
what it
is-
says. It was ratified May of 2016.
Oh.
The superintendent authorized this work on July 29th.
Right, but this is, if I read this correctly, this is for the deck, right, that they just did?
It was related to moving those classrooms last summer before school started.
Yeah, okay.
So it was
so then
extra
it-
work. It's just coming in front of us now.
Yeah.
That's the issue that I'm saying.
So is
Any
there
further
a-
comment?
Well, is there an explanation why
Oh.
this item took so long to get back in front of us then?
I just wrote that.
You're going to find out.
I just wrote that note down because I want to find out.
Great.
And just
Fair
for the
enough.
record, I started on January 28th, 2017.
That's what fair enough.
May we move forward on the motion?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have items 13E and F for El Rodeo.
Sure, I'd love to bundle those two for you. I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 1 with environmental audit for the additional asbestos and lead abatement monitoring services for El Rodeo, and the approval of amendment number 11 to the agreement with HMC for architectural engineering services for El Rodeo.
Good job, Mr. Margot. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mrs. Hacker. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 13G.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Spitz.
Yes.
I did have one question on this, and
Oh.
I'm sorry, I was on the other item.
Okay.
When I bundled it, so I
Let's
apologize.
back up.
It's not gonna, I'm not gonna change my vote, but I just was
Okay.
wondering, and I'd found this question, I forgot to send it to staff. Where is room 400?
It's on the Building A where the entry is coming into the principal's office.
Uh-huh.
Used to be the very, very top floor.
Okay.
Above that.
So
Right above it.
would we say it's a pretty centralized location for the use in which it is now being?
It was originally built as the library.
Right, understood, and
And
then
it is a centralized location.
that's, that all, because I didn't know where 400 was. That's, now that I know
Is it where
it's,
those steps are and you go up
You
and
keep
it's?
going up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's an English room now.
It's off the
something.
auditorium.
It used to be an English, it used to be a.
the stairwell off the auditorium?
No, well, yeah,
To the-
do you know where the stair is to go up into Coppola? So that's-
No, I avoid that death trap at all costs.
But it's got steps and a platform and steps, and there's like two classrooms there, is
No,
that?
it's just one.
Just one,
No,
but it's
I
a
get-
very big one, right?
Thank you.
Can you give
No,
Mr.
that answered my question.
Science lab.
Thank
Can
you.
you
That
give
answered
Mr.
my-
Margot?
It's the old
Perfect.
science lab.
Thank
Actually,
you.
that's probably going to be the capstone of El Rodeo once that room
I
is
think it's the
completed.
capstone of the district.
I really, yeah, it's an amazing space.
That space, okay, great.
Yeah.
Best library in the district. Thank you for clarification. Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Spitz.
we've
for-
taken the vote already
Yep,
on that
yep,
item.
moving on.
That brings us to item 13G. I have a
Yeah.
motion.
Make a motion to ratify the agreement issued under Board Resolution 2015-2016-041 for signage at Horseman School with signs and Lucite Products, Incorporated.
All right, motion by Mr. Margot.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Goldstein. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, this is the same, I looked at the drawing, it was a little confusing. They had these archways in the elevation, and I was wondering how that was related to the actual signage, which is on the corner of Robertson and Charleville.
It's a combination of both. It says some elements, it's the main marquee sign, as well as some other minor signage that needed to be corrected that
It was
was
the
never
commu-
included.
If I may, it was the community center signage. It said, it took up like the entire wall over the arch on both sides on Charleville and Robertson, where the community center entrances are.
Right.
See those arches?
Right.
Remember the original lettering that was placed there? They were about 3 feet tall, and it ran for about 30 feet. And it's a community room.
Right.
It was sorely out of place, given the space.
Okay. In the elevation that was sent, I saw the new sign, proposed sign. I didn't see any, I just saw the arches with nothing, no signage pictured on that, so.
There's lettering, I believe, on the top of
Okay.
the arch.
All right.
Much smaller
I'd have
in
to-
font.
I'd have to
or-
look it up. I haven't got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So that sign, what was the review process to approve of that design?
The sign was reviewed by the architect and accepted by the architect for the installation. As the architect is the design professional on this project, that we took their guidance.
I see. So it's the architect's approval. Was there any school input from?
Yeah, I can tell you from the
Please.
parents on the site,
Yes.
the letters overran the space.
Right.
The original letters that were placed there.
Right.
It looked ridiculous, and it just didn't fit very well. You know, you have a great building, and aesthetically, that's the first thing you see, and it didn't bode very well. If you remember, the lettering ran off the edges where those stars are placed around. It was, the lettering was too big.
It's like when you tell a child to write on the line,
They
and
drew,
then they just write
yeah, they
that
drew
way.
outside the lines, I guess is the best way to put it.
Any further comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 13H, may I have a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 1 to the agreement with Cumming Construction Management Incorporated for bid procurement and construction administration of district's Proposition 39 LED lighting retrofit project.
Motion by Mrs. Hacker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goldstein. Any comment, questions?
Yeah, 1 second, Mr. Spitz, sorry, I lost my page on this, and I did have a question on it, so let
Okay.
me just go to I'm just rebooting my agenda, I apologize. Somebody else can take it.
Well, I'm pleased to see we're finally getting to this with regard to LED lighting. I know this is one of the
Okay.
things we discussed a number of years ago, and we had hoped that it was going to be in there, actually in the Horace Mann building, but it's great to see that this will be a district standard, and I think we're really excited because we had the Prop 39 study session, I don't know, 2 years ago, so it's good to see that finally coming to fruition, that we can actually avail ourselves of some of those funds.
Yeah, my question was, they had indicated that the 406,000 has been identified as being reimbursable through Prop 39. Will this additional 21,000 also be reimbursable?
Yes, we will be requesting the additional funds, and the additional funds are available.
Okay.
As I understand it.
Good, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Communication from board members. Mr. Schwartz?
Yeah, actually, just a few things that I forgot to mention earlier. The Madrigals are going to Orlando, Florida next week, I believe, for some festivals, is it? Some performances, festivals, competitions.
Yes, I know, I'm paying.
Something, yeah.
Oh, now you're taking credit for him.
No, I didn't take credit, he's taking my money.
So good luck to them. Also, good luck to all those taking the SBAC testing right now.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone who participates and is involved in the every 15 minutes. I know for a number of those people, it's truly a labor of love, And the program is so comprehensive, and I think it's one of the most impactful programs we actually are associated with here in the district. You know, I think as a PTA parent and BHUF or on the board, probably been to hundreds and hundreds of assemblies since 2000. And when you watch the students sit in those stands, those high school students sit in those stands, and really, they're not kibitzing, they're not, you know, doing what some of the students do when in assemblies. They actually pay attention, and it really resonates with them. And it's not just a one-time thing and over. There's an inculcation in this program that it's not just done one day or 2 days. It's done weeks and months prior to that in the classes with the counselors and in the classrooms. And when you have a program that actually inculcates students, it's probably the most not only insightful but impactful. And I truly believe that Mr. Settian's correct. That program alone has probably saved dozens and dozens of students in this community. And we should all be very thankful that this program exists, and hopefully it will exist for a very long time, until the day that kids finally smarten up, and adults, that they don't get in a car, drink and drive, especially as they indicated with the opportunity of Uber. So I hope there is a day that we don't have to run this, because no one actually gets into a vehicle inebriated or under the influence.
Thank you.
I've been hearing rumblings of some of the universities that our students have been accepted to. I don't have them memorized, but it seems impressive once again. And the direction that this board took years ago with a college counselor seems to be the right one in helping to boost that. Hopefully that will continue. And I would also say congratulations to all of those students who have gotten accepted into those fine institutions. I also want to say on another note, obviously everybody knows I'm a theater parent now. I would like to implore the board and the superintendent to look into what can we do about the Salter Theater space, as it is really our main theater for the next 2 to 3 years, as we keep hearing delays in the Peters. So if we can think about doing possibly something over the summer to spruce that place up and have it be a better representation of the program because it's used not just by obviously the theater program. The professional development was in that theater, and I'm sure that everybody would like that situation changed. So I would like to see if we can do something about sprucing the joint up, as they say. Thank you.
Just to echo what Mr. Goldstein said about every 15 minutes, I'd like to thank, I hope I get everyone right, Les Bronte, Gail Milan, Jody Galen, Lisa Schwartz, and Corinne Senting, yes, for their work on the program and for bringing awareness and education to our children every year. It's very important, and we're so appreciative of their efforts. And of course, a big congratulations to all of our teachers and staff members who are receiving the Apple Award this year. Congratulations, and well deserved.
Noah, I just happened to have an answer to those schools. Dave and I had been texting back and forth some time ago about another subject.
Where'd you get in, Lisa?
And I'll tell you where they got in, the kids. All the UCs, Stanford, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, University of Chicago, Dartmouth, Duke, Caltech, Vanderbilt, Syracuse, USC, NYU, many to Berkeley and UCLA, U of Penn, and the list goes on and on beyond belief. This is Dave's words. For everyone who says that you can't get a great education at Beverly, the facts prove them wrong, and they are not spending $40,000+ per year. He goes on to say, I'm beyond proud. My teachers and staff deserve the congratulations on the job well done. We are getting all the information together before we will get it to the board. I forgot Oregon, Washington, Utah, Tulane, Miami, Indiana, and more.
Great.
So kudos to our staff, to Dave, to the kids and their families. It definitely takes a village. I also want to say that I drove around on April 6th, Thursday, 2017, and I think I was on the phone with Howard briefly, and I said, why are the flags at half-staff? And he said, I don't know, is it Don Rickles passed away? We were like chuckling. It couldn't be Don Rickles. He lived in Beverly Hills, bless his heart. I'm fortunate enough to have seen him twice in the last year. I drove to Vegas, actually, to see him the first time. And then I went online, and it was John Glenn. John Glenn was finally laid to rest, the final burial of him, and he was quite a remarkable man, as you all know. He was an American hero. I had the pleasure of picking him up about 20-plus years ago at the Peninsula Hotel. He came in for an event I was having, and I got to drive he and his wife to a home, my sister's home. I had got to spend time with them. He was just as charming as could be. We talked about his time in the capsule. We talked about his fear. He didn't have much, he said. We talked about when the White House welcomed him meeting John F. Kennedy. And I drove him up the hills at the time where my sister lived, and he held on to the handle in the passenger side. When I got him there and then I drove him home after the event, he said, "You know, Lisa, you drive very interestingly." I said, "Really?" I said, "Oh, my dad taught me how to drive." He says, "Yeah." I says, "Really?" He says, "It was reminiscent of re-entering the Earth's orbit." So that's my time with John Glenn, and later on I got a lovely thank you note from him and a beautiful engraved pewter or silver, I think it was pewter, dish, bowl while he was senator. That's when I hung out with him. And I told him that I washed the car even though he was a Democrat, so he liked that too. So anyway, he was a wonderful man. He was delightful. My nephew was the smartest of all. He was about 10 years old at the time, maybe even less. He ran and got an encyclopedia, which no one has anymore. He found John Glenn and he had him sign it. So nowadays, you'd have to sign your phone, your Wikipedia print. Anyway, so I just wanted to remind the kids and anyone out there, look up John Glenn. He was quite an American hero, the greatest generation. And I want to wish everyone a happy Passover, what's left of it, and a happy Easter, I think, coming up on Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Colleagues, in the last few meetings that we've had, we've heard the public, we've heard stakeholders literally crying out for more information and solid information on the district's financial condition. We see it also in letters that are to the editors of the local newspapers. They're thoughtful letters, but they contain misconceptions. And I believe that there is a very urgent need for the district in a united voice to spell out the condition, the financial condition of our district, and what our plans are to improve it and move forward. And in that regard, I want you to know that I have sent a draft of such a statement to the superintendent. And I do hope that very soon the board will be able to sit down and review this and come up with one voice to let the community know what the financial condition is and why we've taken the steps that we have and what future plans we have to deal with the challenges, the financial challenges that we have. So I hope that we'll be working on that shortly. Superintendent, any comment? With that, the meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
So we're not meeting on the 18th, there's others are. We're meeting on the 19th.
But it just doesn't get me. Strangely enough, I sleep well, except for a dream or two. I even count my sheep well. Funny how sheep can lull you to sleep. I should care. I should go without sleeping. I should care. I should go around weeping. I've never found someone as long